The courtroom doors swung open at exactly 9:47 a.m. Most days, Judge Judy Shandlin had seen it all. Drug dealers who blamed their mothers, landlords who rented apartments with no running water, ex-couples fighting over a $200 couch like it was made of gold, tenants who swore they paid rent in cash but had zero receipts, business partners who couldn't remember signing contracts even when their signature was right there in front of them. She'd been doing this for decades. First as a family court judge in New York, then on television where millions watched her cut through lies and excuses like a hot knife through butter. She had a system. Ask direct questions. Demand yes or no answers. Follow the evidence. Trust the documents. But today was different. The moment the courtroom doors opened, you could feel something shift in the atmosphere. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't obvious. But if you'd spent enough time in courtrooms, you'd recognize that particular energy, the kind that comes right before everything goes sideways. A young woman walked in wearing a designer coat that probably cost more than most people's rent. The fabric looked expensive, the cut was perfect. Even her sunglasses, which she wore indoors, screamed money. Her heels clicked against the floor with a rhythm that said she owned every space she entered. Behind her, an older couple moved quietly, their faces tight with worry. The man wore a suit that fit too well to be off the rack. The woman clutched a designer handbag like it was a shield. Judge Judy noticed all of this in about 3 seconds. She'd learned to read people fast. You had to in her line of work. The bailiff called the case. Docket number 42729, Patricia Donovan versus Amanda Whitmore. Judge Judy looked up from her papers. The plaintiff, Patricia Donovan, was a small business owner in her late 50s. She wore a simple gray suit. Her hands shook slightly as she adjusted the microphone. The defendant, Amanda Whitmore, stood on the other side, 23 years old, arms crossed, a smirk playing on her lips. Ms. Donovan, Judge Judy began, flipping through the case file one more time. You're suing for $4,800. That's the maximum we handle here. Tell me what happened. Patricia cleared her throat twice before speaking. Your Honor, I own a bakery in Charleston. It's a small place. Just me, my husband who helps with the books, and 2 employees. We've been in business for 12 years now. And 6 months ago? 6 months ago, Ms. Whitmore came in asking about a custom order for a wedding. Not her wedding, she was very clear about that. She said it was for a family friend who was getting married at their estate. Judge Judy nodded, making a note. What did she want? She wanted 5 tiers, not just any 5 tiers. She showed me pictures from wedding magazines, the kind you see in those fancy bridal publications where everything costs a fortune. Gold leaf decorations, real 24-karat gold leaf, fresh flowers imported from Ecuador. She said they had to be Ecuadorian roses because those were the bride's favorite. She wanted fondant, not buttercream. She wanted each tier to be a different flavor. Patricia pulled out a folder with shaking hands. Inside were printed pages with notes, calculations, and photos. I gave her a detailed quote. $1,300 for the cake itself. That included all the specialty ingredients, the gold leaf, the imported flowers, and about 60 hours of labor between me and my assistant. Then another $2,600 for delivery, setup, and the special refrigeration unit we'd need to rent because it was July and the wedding was outdoors. $4,800 total. Yes, Your Honor, I know it sounds like a lot, but for what she was asking, it was actually below market rate. I've seen similar cakes go for $6,000 or $7,000. Judge Judy took the papers and spread them out on her desk. She spent a long moment studying them. The quote was itemized. Each ingredient listed with its cost, each hour of labor accounted for. The rental fee for the refrigeration unit included a receipt from the equipment company. Finally, she looked at Amanda. Ms. Whitmore, did you see this quote before you agreed to it? And she agreed to this price. Yes, Your Honor. We signed a contract. Patricia held up a paper. She paid a $500 deposit. The balance was due on delivery. Judge Judy took the contract and examined it. Her reading glasses sat low on her nose. After a moment, she looked at Amanda. Ms. Whitmore, did you sign this? Amanda barely glanced at it. Sure. Sure? Yes or no? Yes. Okay. Judge Judy handed the contract to the bailiff. Ms. Donovan, what happened next? Patricia's voice got quieter, the way people's voices do when they're reliving something painful. I spent 3 weeks on that cake, Your Honor. 3 full weeks. My assistant Maria and I worked overtime almost every night. Do you know how delicate gold leaf is? It's thinner than tissue paper. One wrong breath and it tears. One fingerprint and it's ruined. We went through 3 attempts before we got it right. She pulled out her phone, scrolling to show more photos. We ordered the flowers special from a supplier in Miami who imports from Ecuador. They arrived 2 days before the wedding so they'd be fresh. We kept them in a climate-controlled cooler. The morning of the wedding, we assembled everything. Each tier was baked perfectly. The fondant was smooth. The decorations were exact. Everything was perfect. And the delivery? Judge Judy prompted. The wedding was at the Whitmore estate. It's this big property about 40 minutes outside Charleston. Beautiful place. Security gate, long driveway, the works. We got there at 2 p.m., exactly when Ms. Whitmore requested. Actually, we got there at 1:45 because I'm always early for deliveries. Better early than late. Patricia's hands were shaking worse now. We brought the refrigeration unit in a separate van. The cake was in our temperature-controlled delivery vehicle. We set everything up in their ballroom. It took us almost an hour to get it just right. We used special supports to make sure it wouldn't shift. We arranged the flowers. We checked every tier. We even brought backup decorations in case anything got damaged. Then what happened? Then Ms. Whitmore walked in with her mother and 2 other women. I thought they were going to be happy. I really did. The cake looked exactly like the pictures she'd shown me. Better even. But the moment she saw it, her face changed. Changed how? She got this look. Like she'd smelled something bad. She walked around the cake once, not saying anything. Then she turned to me and said, "This isn't what I ordered." Then she refused to pay. Amanda laughed. Actually laughed out loud in the courtroom. Judge Judy's head snapped toward her. Something funny? Your Honor, with all respect, she's leaving out the important part. I'm sure you'll tell me. But let Ms. Donovan finish first. Patricia continued. When I asked for the payment, Ms. Whitmore said the cake wasn't what she ordered. She said it was ugly. She said her guests would be embarrassed. Then she told us to leave. Did you leave the cake? No, Your Honor. If she wasn't going to pay, I wasn't going to leave $3,200 worth of work. We loaded it back into the truck. Judge Judy wrote something down. Ms. Whitmore, your turn. What's your version? Amanda uncrossed her arms and stepped forward slightly. She spoke like she was explaining something to a child who wouldn't understand basic concepts. Your Honor, with all due respect to Ms. Donovan, that cake was a complete disaster. The gold leaf wasn't applied evenly. Half of it was falling off by the time they set it up. The flowers? Wilted. Brown edges on some of the petals. And the fondant had cracks in it. Big cracks. It looked like something you'd buy from a grocery store, not a professional bakery. Judge Judy wrote something down. Do you have pictures of these defects? No. No. No pictures at all? I was too upset to take pictures, Your Honor. When I saw what they delivered, I was so angry I couldn't think straight. Judge Judy raised an eyebrow. She'd heard that excuse before, 1,000 times. Ms. Whitmore, you were at a wedding at your family's estate. Your family's estate. And you're telling me that nobody, not you, not your mother, not the bride, not any of the guests, took a single picture of this supposedly terrible cake? It wasn't my wedding. I already said that. Right. A family friend's wedding, at your family's estate, with what I assume were dozens of guests. And somehow, in this age where everyone has a camera in their pocket, nobody photographed the centerpiece cake before it was removed? Amanda shifted her weight from one foot to the other. For the first time, her confidence seemed to crack just slightly. The photographer hadn't arrived yet. The professional photographer hadn't arrived, but you had your phone, correct? Yes. And your phone has a camera. Yes. But you were too upset to use it. Exactly. Judge Judy removed her glasses and set them down deliberately on the desk. Uh-huh. She turned back to Patricia. Ms. Donovan, do you have pictures? Yes, Your Honor. Patricia's hands fumbled with her phone for a moment before she found what she was looking for. I always photograph my work before delivery. It's part of my standard procedure, for insurance purposes, but also for my portfolio. I've been doing this for 12 years, and I've learned to document everything. The bailiff walked over, took Patricia's phone, and brought it to Judge Judy. She scrolled through the images slowly, zooming in on different sections, examining the details with the careful attention of someone who'd spent a lifetime evaluating evidence. The first photo showed all 5 tiers assembled in what looked like a professional kitchen. The lighting was good. You could see every detail clearly. The second photo was a close-up of the gold leaf work. The third showed the flowers. The fourth was another angle of the full cake. The fifth was yet another close-up, this time of the fondant work. Judge Judy spent almost 2 full minutes looking through the photos. The courtroom was completely silent except for the soft sound of her fingers swiping across the screen. Finally, she glanced up and locked eyes with Amanda. Her expression hadn't changed, but something in her gaze had sharpened. Ms. Whitmore, I've looked at these pictures very carefully. This cake looks professionally made to me. 5 perfect tiers, clean edges. The gold leaf is intact and evenly applied. The flowers look fresh. I can see dewdrops on some of the petals, which means they were very recently placed. The fondant is smooth with no visible cracks. Amanda waved her hand dismissively, the gesture almost theatrical. Your Honor, those pictures were taken at her bakery. Of course it looked good there, but that's not what showed up at the estate. Who knows what happened during transport? Maybe they hit a bump, maybe the air conditioning failed. I'm telling you, what we saw was not what's in those pictures. Judge Judy handed the phone back to the bailiff. Ms. Donovan, do you have pictures from the estate after you set up? Patricia hesitated, and you could see the regret cross her face. No, Your Honor. I wish I did. But once Ms. Whitmore started yelling, once she told me the cake was garbage and she wasn't going to pay, I just wanted to get out of there. My assistant Maria was crying. Ms. Whitmore's mother was apologizing, but Ms. Whitmore kept getting louder. It was humiliating. We loaded the cake back up as fast as we could and left. Did the cake show any damage when you loaded it back into your vehicle? No, Your Honor. It looked exactly the same as when we'd set it up. We checked because we were planning to salvage what we could, maybe use some of the tiers for other orders, but everything was intact. And then what did you do with it? We took it back to the bakery. By that point, we couldn't reuse it for other customers because it had been sitting out, so we ate some of it ourselves. Me, Maria, my husband. The rest we had to throw away. $3,200 worth of work, plus all the time and effort, just gone. Judge Judy removed her glasses. She cleaned them slowly with a cloth from her desk. When she put them back on, her voice was steel. Ms. Whitmore, you signed a contract. You agreed to pay $4,800 for a custom cake. The cake was delivered as specified. You have no photographic evidence of any defects. Give me one good reason why you shouldn't pay this woman what you owe her. Amanda's smirk grew wider. Because my father is Senator Richard Whitmore. The courtroom went quiet. Not the fake quiet of a dramatic movie. The real quiet that happens when someone says something so shocking that brains need a moment to process it.
Judge Judy blinked once. Excuse me? My father is Senator Richard Whitmore, from South Carolina. Maybe you've heard of him. I know who he is. Then you know he has friends. Important friends. Friends in very high places. Amanda took a step closer to the bench. And you know what? He told me I don't have to pay for a cake I didn't like. He said if anyone gives me trouble, he'll make a phone call. Patricia's face went pale. The older couple behind Amanda, her parents presumably, looked mortified. Her mother whispered something, but Amanda ignored her. Judge Judy set down her pen. She folded her hands on the desk. When she spoke, her voice was dangerously calm. Are you threatening me? I'm not threatening anyone. I'm stating facts. My family has resources. connections. If this bakery lady wants to sue me in small claims court, fine. But she should know who she's dealing with. Should she now? Yeah, because here's the thing, Your Honor. Amanda put quotes around the title with her fingers. You might have a TV show. You might have people who think you're tough. But at the end of the day, you're just a retired judge in a fake courtroom. You're entertainment. And my father? He makes real laws that affect real people. Judge Judy didn't move. You done? One more thing. This whole case? It's a waste of everyone's time. That cake was garbage, and I'm not paying for garbage. So you can make whatever ruling you want, but good luck collecting. My lawyers will tie this up for years. She crossed her arms again, looking pleased with herself. Patricia was near tears. Her hands gripped the edge of the podium. The bailiff looked uncomfortable. The camera crew kept filming, but you could feel the tension even from behind the cameras. Judge Judy picked up the contract again. She read it slowly, her lips moving slightly. Then she set it down and looked directly at Amanda. Ms. Whitmore, how old are you? 23. 23. Old enough to enter into a legal contract. Old enough to understand that when you sign your name on a piece of paper, that signature means something. Yes or no? Amanda shrugged. I guess. You guess? Let me make it simpler. When you went to Ms. Donovan's bakery, did you ask her to make you a cake? Yes. Did you tell her exactly what you wanted? Yes. Did you sign a contract agreeing to pay for that cake? Yes, but nothing. Did you or did you not sign this contract? I signed it. And when the cake was delivered, did Ms. Donovan do everything the contract specified? The cake was ugly. That's not what I asked. Did she deliver a 5-tier cake with gold leaf and fresh flowers to your estate at 2 p.m. on the date specified? Yes, but yes or no answers only, please. Did she fulfill her end of the contract? Amanda's jaw tightened. Technically, yes. Technically. Judge Judy leaned back in her chair. Let me tell you something about technically, Ms. Whitmore. Technically, a contract is a binding agreement between two parties. Technically, when one party fulfills their obligations and the other refuses to pay, that's called breach of contract. Technically, it doesn't matter if your father is a senator, the president, or the King of England. A deal is a deal. You don't understand. I understand perfectly. You ordered an expensive cake. You got exactly what you ordered. Then you decided you didn't want to pay for it. And when someone had the nerve to ask for their money, you thought you could bully them into giving up because of your last name. Amanda's mother tried to speak. Your Honor, if I could. Not now, ma'am. Judge Judy kept her eyes on Amanda. Your daughter needs to hear this. She's young. She makes mistakes. She's 23 years old. That's not young. That's an adult. And adults face consequences for their choices. Amanda's face flushed red. You can't talk to me like that. I can, and I am. You want to know why? Because in this courtroom, I don't care about your father's job title. I don't care about your family's money. I don't care about your connections, or your lawyers, or your estate with the ballroom. I care about one thing, the truth. The truth is that cake was terrible. The truth is, you have no evidence. The truth is, Ms. Donovan has a contract, photographs, and a witness, her assistant who helped with delivery. The truth is, you're making excuses because you don't want to pay. Amanda's hands clenched into fists. This is ridiculous. You're supposed to be impartial. You're clearly taking her side. I'm taking the side of facts. Facts don't care about feelings. They don't care about reputations. They just are. Well, here's a fact for you. Amanda's voice rose. I'm not paying. You can't make me pay. And if you try to rule against me, my father will. Will what? Judge Judy's voice cut through like a knife. Make a phone call? Send his lawyers? Sue me? Go ahead. I've been practicing law since before you were born. I've seen every threat, every intimidation tactic, every attempt to manipulate the system. None of it works in here. You think you're so powerful. I don't think anything. I know the law, and the law is on Ms. Donovan's side. Amanda took a step forward. Her voice turned shrill. "You are powerless. You hear me? Powerless. This courtroom is a joke. You're a joke. My father has real power, and you have nothing." The entire courtroom froze. Judge Judy stood up. She didn't yell. She didn't need to. "Bailiff," she said quietly, "remove Ms. Whitmore from my courtroom." "You can't. Get her out." The bailiff moved toward Amanda, but she wasn't done. "This is insane. You can't kick me out. I have rights." "You had the right to behave like a civilized person. You chose not to exercise that right. Now you're leaving." Amanda's father finally stood up. He was a tall man in an expensive suit. His face was bright red. "Judge Sheindlin, please. My daughter is upset. She didn't mean—" "Senator Whitmore," Judge Judy's tone softened slightly. "I understand you love your daughter, but she's an adult, and she needs to learn that actions have consequences. The best thing you can do for her right now is let her face those consequences." He opened his mouth, then closed it. After a long moment, he nodded. Amanda looked at her father with disbelief. "Dad, you're just going to let her—" "Amanda, enough." His voice was firm. "We're leaving." "No, this isn't over. I'm going to—" The bailiff took her arm gently but firmly. "Ma'am, you need to come with me." Amanda tried to pull away. "Get your hands off me. Do you know who I am?" "I know you're disrupting these proceedings," the bailiff said calmly. "Please don't make this harder than it needs to be." She finally allowed herself to be led toward the door, but not before turning back one last time. "You'll regret this, all of you. My father will make sure." The door closed behind her. Her voice faded into the hallway. Judge Judy sat back down. She took a deep breath, then looked at Patricia, who was standing there in shock. "Ms. Donovan, I apologize for that scene. Are you all right?" Patricia nodded, but tears were running down her face. "Your Honor, I just wanted to get paid for my work. That's all. I'm not trying to cause trouble." "I know, and you're going to get paid." Judge Judy picked up her gavel. "Here's my ruling. Ms. Whitmore signed a contract. She received the goods as specified in that contract. She has provided no credible evidence that the cake was defective or not as ordered. Therefore, she is in breach of contract." Patricia wiped her eyes. "I am awarding you the full amount, $4,800 plus court costs. Ms. Whitmore will pay every penny she owes you." "Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you so much." "Don't thank me. You earned that money. You did your job. You deserve to be compensated." Judge Judy paused. "And Ms. Donovan? Don't let people like that intimidate you. You have just as much right to be here as anyone else, senator's daughter or not." Patricia nodded, unable to speak. Judge Judy turned to the camera. "We're going to take a short recess. When we come back, we'll have Senator Whitmore and his wife in here for a conversation about parenting. Don't go anywhere." During the recess, the courtroom buzzed with whispered conversations. The camera crew members looked at each other with wide eyes. In all their years filming this show, they'd seen defendants walk out. They'd seen people cry. They'd seen anger and frustration and denial. But they'd never seen someone get physically removed while screaming threats about their senator father. One of the producers made a phone call to the network. This episode was going to be big. Really big. The bailiff stood by the door, arms crossed, making sure Amanda didn't try to come back in. Through the window, you could see her pacing in the hallway, still gesturing wildly, still talking. Her voice was muffled, but you could tell she was still upset. Patricia sat on a bench outside the courtroom, her hands still shaking. A production assistant brought her a bottle of water. She took small sips, trying to process what had just happened. In 12 years of running her bakery, she'd dealt with difficult customers before. People who complained about prices. People who changed their minds at the last minute. People who wanted refunds for cakes that were already eaten. But she'd never had someone refuse to pay and then threaten her with political connections. She'd never been screamed at in a courtroom. She'd never had to watch someone get physically removed by a bailiff. Her husband had wanted to come with her today, but someone had to mind the shop. Now she wished he was here. Just to hold her hand. just to remind her she wasn't crazy for pursuing this case. Inside the courtroom, Judge Judy reviewed her notes. She'd dealt with entitled defendants before, lots of them. Rich kids who thought money made them invincible. Adults who'd never been told no in their entire lives. People who believed their last name or their bank account or their connections put them above the rules that governed everyone else. But this case was different in one important way. The sheer audacity of threatening a judge on camera, of believing that a parent's job title could override basic contract law, of screaming that someone was powerless in their own courtroom. It showed a level of delusion that was almost breathtaking. More than that, it showed a complete failure of parenting. Because people aren't born entitled. They're taught entitlement. By parents who give them everything. By parents who shield them from consequences. By parents who solve every problem instead of teaching their kids to solve problems themselves. Judge Judy had seen Senator Whitmore and his wife sitting in the back. She'd seen their faces when Amanda started her tirade. The mother had looked horrified. The father had looked like he wanted to sink through the floor. They knew. They knew exactly what their daughter had become, and they knew, on some level, that they were responsible. The bailiff knocked on her chamber door. "They're ready, Your Honor." "Send them in." Senator Richard Whitmore entered first, followed by his wife, Elizabeth. Without Amanda there, they looked smaller somehow. Older. The confident bearing of a successful politician had evaporated. His shoulders were slightly hunched. His wife's eyes were red and puffy. They stood in front of the bench. No podium this time. No formal structure. Just two parents who knew they needed to have a conversation they'd been avoiding for years. Judge Judy didn't waste time with pleasantries. "Senator, Mrs. Whitmore, thank you for staying. I want to be clear, this isn't part of the official case. Amanda has already been removed. The judgment stands. Ms. Donovan gets her money. But I wanted to talk to you both because I think you need to hear some things that nobody else is going to tell you." The senator nodded, his voice quiet. "I appreciate that, Your Honor. We appreciate it. Do you know why your daughter acted that way today?" He hesitated, choosing his words carefully. The same way he probably chose words during press conferences or Senate hearings. "She's always been spirited, strong-willed, independent." "Spirited?" Judge Judy's tone made it clear she wasn't buying the euphemism. "That's what we're calling it?" Mrs. Whitmore spoke up, her voice soft but steady. "Judge Sheindlin, Amanda has had difficulties for a long time. With authority, with responsibility, with understanding that actions have consequences. We've tried therapy. We've tried family counseling. We tried being strict. We tried being understanding. Nothing seems to work. How long has this been going on?" "Since she was about 15, maybe earlier. It's hard to pinpoint exactly when it started." Mrs. Whitmore twisted her wedding ring around her finger, a nervous habit. "When she was younger, she was such a sweet child, bright, creative. But something changed during high school. She started pushing boundaries, testing limits, and we didn't handle it well." Judge Judy leaned forward, her elbows on the desk. "Let me ask you something, and I want honest answers. When Amanda was growing up, when she asked for something, how often did you tell her no?" The senator and his wife exchanged glances. The kind of glances married couples exchange when they both know the answer but don't want to admit it out loud. "Sometimes," he said finally. "Sometimes? Not often?" Senator Whitmore took a deep breath. "I was busy. My career was taking off. First as a state legislator, then Congress, then the Senate. Elizabeth handled most of the day-to-day parenting. And yes, in retrospect, maybe we were too lenient. Maybe we gave her too much, too soon." "Maybe?" he sighed, and for a moment, the politician facade dropped completely. He was just a tired father who'd made mistakes. "All right, yes. We spoiled her. We gave her everything she wanted. When she got in trouble at school for talking back to a teacher, we had a meeting with the principal and smoothed it over. When she wrecked her first car doing 90 in a 45 zone, we bought her a new one the next week. When she maxed out 3 credit cards in college buying designer clothes and bottles at clubs, we paid them off without making her work to repay us. And what did Amanda learn from all that? Mrs. Whitmore answered, her voice barely above a whisper. That she could get away with anything, that there would never be real consequences, that money and connections could solve every problem. She wiped her eyes with a tissue she'd been clutching. We know that now. We've known it for a while, if I'm being honest. But by the time we realized what we'd done, it felt too late. The patterns were set. Her personality was formed. Judge Judy removed her glasses and set them on the desk. When she spoke, her voice was firm but not unkind. Mrs. Whitmore, it's never too late. Your daughter is 23 years old. Her brain is still developing. Scientists say the prefrontal cortex, the part that handles decision-making and impulse control, doesn't fully mature until around age 25. She can still learn. She can still change. But she won't learn if you keep protecting her from consequences. We're not trying to protect her anymore. Not really. Mrs. Whitmore's voice cracked. That's why we came here today. When she told us she was being sued, Richard's first instinct was to pay the woman off quietly. Write a check. Make it go away. Keep it out of the news. But I said no. I told him Amanda needs to face this. She needs to stand in front of a judge and be held accountable. Good. That's a start. A small start, but a start. The senator spoke up, his voice carrying the weight of genuine remorse. Your Honor, I need to apologize. What Amanda said about my position, about making phone calls, about using my connections to interfere, that was completely out of line. I have never, and would never, use my office to interfere with legal proceedings. I hope you know that. I hope you believe that. Judge Judy studied him for a long moment. She'd been around enough politicians to spot a liar. He wasn't lying. I believe you, Senator. I do. But here's what worries me, and I want you to really think about this. Amanda believed you would. She was confident enough in that belief to say it out loud, on camera, in a courtroom full of people. Where did she get that idea? He was quiet for what felt like a full minute. When he finally spoke, his voice was heavy with regret. I may have, over the years, mentioned my connections. When she was younger, when she'd ask how things worked, I thought I was teaching her about networking, about how the world operates, about the importance of relationships in business and politics. I didn't realize she was internalizing it as a get-out-of-jail-free card, as a way to avoid responsibility rather than embrace it. The world doesn't work that way. Not really. Connections can open doors, sure. They can get you meetings. They can get your foot in places other people can't reach. But they can't replace character. They can't replace integrity. They can't make a broken contract valid. And they definitely can't override basic decency and the rule of law. I understand that now. I do. And I've been trying to teach Amanda the same thing for the past few years. But she doesn't listen. To me, to her mother, to anyone. She thinks she knows better. She thinks the rules don't apply to her. Judge Judy studied them both. She saw the exhaustion, the frustration, the genuine desire to fix something that felt irreparably broken. Let me tell you what I see. I see 2 parents who love their daughter very much. I see 2 people who made mistakes, and who hasn't, but who genuinely want to fix those mistakes. I see people who are finally willing to do the hard work. Am I right so far? They both nodded, Mrs. Whitmore dabbing at her eyes again. Here's the problem. Amanda is an adult now. Legally, emotionally, mentally, she's an adult. You can't force her to change. You can't make her take responsibility. You can't drag her to therapy and expect it to work if she's not willing to do the work. She has to want it. And right now, from what I just saw in this courtroom, she doesn't want it. She's comfortable in her bubble of privilege and protection. So what do we do? Mrs. Whitmore asked, her voice breaking completely now. How do we help her? She's our daughter. We can't just give up on her. You stop helping her. That's how you help her. The senator frowned, confused. I don't understand. Judge Judy's voice was firm. Stop paying her bills. Stop bailing her out. Stop making excuses for her behavior. Stop running interference when she faces consequences. When she faces a consequence, like this judgment, let her face it. Don't write a check to make it disappear. Don't call your lawyers to tie it up in appeals. Let her figure out how to pay that bakery owner. Let her feel what it's like to be held accountable for her choices. But what if she can't pay? What if she doesn't have the money? Senator Whitmore's parental instincts were fighting against the logic. What if she... Then she'll learn what it means to have her wages garnished. She'll learn what bankruptcy feels like. She'll learn that actions have real, tangible, lasting consequences that don't disappear because Daddy makes a phone call. Judge Judy paused, letting that sink in. I know that sounds harsh. I know every instinct you have as parents is telling you to swoop in and fix it. But fixing it for her one more time won't help. It'll just delay the inevitable crash. And the longer you delay it, the harder that crash will be. Mrs. Whitmore was crying openly now. We've already lost her in so many ways. She doesn't respect us. She doesn't listen to us. She doesn't visit unless she needs money. We're afraid if we cut her off completely, she'll spiral out of control. She'll hate us forever. She might hate you for a while. That's possible. But let me ask you this. What's worse? Having your daughter hate you temporarily while she learns to stand on her own 2 feet, or watching her destroy her entire life because she never learned that actions have consequences? Senator Whitmore put his arm around his wife. Your Honor, we hear you. We do. It's the hardest thing we've ever had to face. Parenting is hard, especially when you're trying to undo 23 years of learned behavior. But if you love your daughter, really love her, not just the idea of her or the person you wish she was, you'll do the hard thing. You'll set boundaries. You'll enforce consequences. You'll let her fall so she can learn to get back up on her own. There was a long silence in the courtroom. Outside, you could hear the muffled sounds of the building, phones ringing, people talking, life continuing as normal while this family faced a moment of reckoning. Finally, Senator Whitmore spoke, his voice steady for the first time since entering the room. We won't pay the judgment. Amanda will have to handle it herself, whatever that takes. Wage garnishment, payment plan, selling her car, whatever it takes, she'll do it. Good. And we're going to talk to her. Really talk to her, not lecture, not yell, but set clear boundaries, clear expectations. No more credit cards that we pay off. No more rent money. No more car insurance payments. She's an adult. She needs to support herself like an adult. Better, Mrs. Whitmore added. And if she needs help, genuine help, not a bailout, we'll be there. But only if she's willing to do the work herself first. Judge Judy nodded. That's the right approach. Is there anything else you want to ask me? Senator Whitmore thought for a moment. Yes, actually. Is there anything else we should do? Any other advice? Judge Judy leaned back in her chair. Yes. Stop caring what other people think. I know you're a public figure, Senator. I know appearances matter in your world. I know this case is probably going to be on the news tonight and all over social media by tomorrow. But your daughter is more important than your reputation. When she acts out, when she embarrasses you publicly, don't hide it. Don't spin it. Don't have your press secretary issue statements minimizing what happened. Acknowledge it. Own it. Show her that integrity matters more than image. He nodded slowly, absorbing the advice. That's very good advice. Thank you. I've been doing this a long time, 30 years on the bench, counting my time in family court. I've seen hundreds of cases like this. Entitled kids, overwhelmed parents, broken relationships. You want to know the ones who make it through? The ones who finally face reality together. No more denial, no more excuses, just truth. Mrs. Whitmore stood up a little straighter. Thank you, Judge Sheindlin. Truly. This has been one of the most humiliating days of my life. But it's also been necessary. We needed to hear this. We needed someone to tell us the truth without sugarcoating it. You're welcome. And Mrs. Whitmore, don't beat yourself up too much. You made mistakes. You'll make more. But you're here. You're trying. You're willing to do the hard work. That counts for something. They left the courtroom together, walking slowly, talking quietly between themselves. Judge Judy watched them go through the window. She'd seen that walk before. The walk of parents who just realized how much work lay ahead. How many hard conversations, how many boundaries to set, how many times they'd have to say no and mean it, how many times they'd have to watch their child struggle and resist every instinct to intervene. Some of them would follow through. Some wouldn't. Within a month, they'd be back to their old patterns, writing checks and making problems disappear. But some would stick with it. Some would find the strength to let their kids face consequences. And those kids, eventually, would thank them for it. Judge Judy hoped, for Amanda's sake and for her parents' sake, that the Whitmores would be in that second category. The case went viral within hours. By 6 p.m. that evening, clips were all over social media. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Reddit. Every platform you could think of had multiple versions of the confrontation. "Get her out! Judge Judy destroys Senator's daughter," had 3 million views before midnight. Entitled "Rich Girl Gets What She Deserves" had 2 million more. Judge Judy's most explosive case ever was trending in 4 different countries. The comment sections were brutal. "This is what happens when you give kids everything and teach them nothing. That senator's daughter is exactly what's wrong with America. Judge Judy is a national treasure. Patricia Donovan deserves better than this. I hope her bakery is getting tons of business now. Somebody needs to check on that family. Those parents created a monster." News outlets picked it up. Local news in South Carolina ran it as their lead story. National news covered it during their evening broadcasts. Legal analysts were brought on to discuss whether Amanda could sue for defamation or emotional distress. Spoiler, she couldn't. Everything happened in a courtroom, on the record, on camera. Truth is an absolute defense against defamation, and you can't claim emotional distress from consequences you brought on yourself. Senator Whitmore's office released a carefully worded statement around 8 p.m. The senator respects the judicial process and supports the court's decision. This is a private family matter, and we ask for privacy as we address it internally. The senator remains committed to his duties representing the people of South Carolina. It was professional, diplomatic. Exactly the kind of statement you'd expect from a politician's office. Amanda herself had a different approach. Around 9 p.m., she posted on Instagram, "Just because someone has a TV show doesn't make them right. Judge Judy is a bully who attacks people for ratings. This isn't over. My lawyers are reviewing my options. The truth will come out." The post got ratioed so hard it was almost funny. For every supportive comment, there were 50 telling her she was wrong, telling her to take responsibility, telling her to grow up. Within 3 hours, she deleted it. But the internet never forgets. Screenshots were everywhere. Patricia Donovan, meanwhile, went back to her bakery the next morning like nothing had happened. She didn't expect the case to change anything. She just wanted her money. She just wanted justice. But something unexpected did happen. Orders started flooding in. By noon, her phone was ringing constantly. People who'd seen the case wanted to support her business. Some ordered cakes they didn't even need, just to help her out. Others left 5-star reviews online, praising her professionalism and integrity. Local news stations requested interviews. A food blogger with 500,000 followers wrote a glowing piece about her bakery and her custom cakes. Within a week, Patricia had to hire 2 new employees just to keep up with demand. Within a month, she was looking into expanding her shop. The case that was supposed to ruin her reputation had instead made her business more successful than it had ever been. "It's overwhelming," she told a reporter from Charleston's local paper. "I never expected this. I just wanted to get paid for my work. But people have been so supportive, so kind. It reminds you that there are good people out there who believe in doing the right thing." Amanda Whitmore did eventually pay the judgment. It took 3 months and multiple collection attempts. First came the official notification that she owed $4,800 plus court costs. She ignored it. Then came the second notice. She ignored that too. Then came the notice that her wages would be garnished if she didn't pay within 30 days. She called her father. "Dad, you have to help me. They're going to take money out of my paycheck. I can't afford that. Amanda, we talked about this. I know, but this is ridiculous. It's just $4,800. That's nothing to you. It's not about the money. It's about, don't give me a lecture. Just write the check. Please." "No." Silence on the other end of the line. "What?" I said, "No. Your mother and I discussed this. We're not bailing you out anymore. You need to handle this yourself. You're going to let them garnish my wages? Do you know how embarrassing that is?" "I imagine it's very embarrassing. But you signed a contract. You didn't pay. Now you're facing the consequences. That's how the world works." She hung up on him. Didn't talk to him for 2 weeks. But eventually, she paid. She set up a payment plan. $400 a month for 12 months. It hurt. Every month when she saw that money come out of her account, it hurt. But she paid it. And slowly, something started to shift. According to sources close to the family, friends who spoke to reporters on condition of anonymity, Amanda moved out of her parents' house about 2 months after the case aired. Not because they kicked her out, but because she was tired of the conversations, tired of the boundaries, tired of being told no. She got her own apartment. A small one in a neighborhood that wasn't particularly nice, but was affordable on her salary from the marketing firm where she'd finally gotten a real job. Her first real job ever. At first, she was terrible at it. She showed up late. She missed deadlines. She argued with her supervisor about assignments she didn't want to do. After about 6 weeks, her boss called her into his office. "Amanda, this isn't working." "What do you mean?" "You're not meeting expectations. You're not delivering work on time. You're creating tension with the team. I'm going to have to let you go unless things change immediately." For once, she didn't have her parents to call. She didn't have connections to pull. She didn't have anyone to blame but herself. "I'll do better," she said quietly. And surprisingly, she did. Not overnight, not perfectly. But she started showing up on time. She started meeting deadlines. When a client complained about her attitude during a presentation, her boss called her in again. And instead of throwing a tantrum, she listened. She apologized. She asked what she could do to improve. Small steps, baby steps, but steps nonetheless. She started therapy again, not because her parents made her, but because she chose to. She found a therapist who specialized in personality disorders and entitlement issues. It was hard work, painful work. Looking at yourself honestly and admitting you've been wrong about almost everything for most of your adult life. But she did the work. Week after week, month after month. Her relationship with her parents remained strained for a long time. There were arguments, slammed doors, long periods of silence where they didn't speak. But slowly, very slowly, something began to thaw. Around the 1-year mark after the case, Amanda called her mother. "Mom, can we have dinner? Just the 2 of us?" They met at a quiet restaurant. The conversation was awkward at first, stilted. But then Amanda said something her mother had never heard her say before. "I'm sorry." Mrs. Whitmore's eyes filled with tears. "For what, honey?" "For everything. For the way I acted. For the things I said. For making your life harder than it needed to be. For embarrassing you and Dad. For being such a..." She struggled to find the word. "For being such a terrible person for so long." "You're not a terrible person. You made mistakes, but..." "No, Mom. I was terrible. I know that now. I'm working on it. I'm trying to be better. But I need you to know that I'm sorry. And I need you to know that I heard what Judge Judy said. About consequences. About accountability. I hated her for it at the time. I hated you and Dad for not defending me. But she was right. You were right. I needed to hear it." They cried together in that restaurant. And while it didn't fix everything, relationships aren't fixed in one conversation. It was a beginning. 3 years after the case, Patricia Donovan got an unexpected email. She was at the bakery, reviewing orders for an upcoming wedding season, when her phone dinged with a new message. The sender's name made her pause. Amanda Whitmore. Her first instinct was to delete it. She didn't need more drama. Didn't need threats or complaints or whatever this was. But curiosity got the better of her. She opened it. "Dear Ms. Donovan, you probably don't remember me. Actually, that's not true. You definitely remember me. I'm the person who didn't pay you for that wedding cake 3 years ago. The one who acted like a complete monster in Judge Judy's courtroom. The one who screamed and got kicked out and made a fool of herself on national television. I've thought about that day a lot over the past 3 years. About the things I said. The way I treated you. The way I treated everyone, honestly. You were just trying to run your business. You did beautiful work, I can admit that now. And I tried to destroy you because I didn't want to admit I was wrong. Because I'd never had to admit I was wrong before. I'm writing to apologize. I know it's too late. I know the damage is done. I know you probably hate me, and you have every right to. But I need you to know that I'm sorry. Truly, deeply, completely sorry. I've spent the last 3 years trying to become a better person. It hasn't been easy. I've had to face some really hard truths about myself, about the way I was raised, about the choices I made, about the person I was. I'm in therapy now. I have a job that I actually earned on my own merits. I have an apartment I pay for myself. I have bills and responsibilities and a life that doesn't revolve around my parents' money or connections. I'm also learning what it means to respect people. All people. Not just the ones with power or status or money. I'm learning that everyone deserves dignity. That everyone deserves to be treated with basic human decency. I don't expect you to forgive me. I don't even expect you to respond to this email. But I needed to tell you. You were right, and I was wrong. The cake was beautiful. You deserve to be paid. You deserve to be treated with respect and appreciation for your work. Thank you for standing up for yourself. Thank you for not backing down when I tried to bully you. Thank you for teaching me a lesson I desperately needed to learn, even though I fought it every step of the way. I hope your bakery is thriving. I hope you're doing well. I hope someday you can think about this whole situation and not feel angry or hurt. Sincerely, Amanda Whitmore. Patricia read the email 3 times. Then she showed it to her husband. They talked about it over dinner that night. Her first instinct was to ignore it. Let it sit in her inbox unanswered. Why should she make Amanda feel better? But the more she thought about it, the more she realized something. This wasn't about making Amanda feel better. This was about closure, about moving forward, about recognizing that people can change if they do the work. That night, before bed, she wrote back. "Dear Amanda, thank you for your email. I accept your apology. I won't pretend that day wasn't painful. It was one of the hardest experiences of my life. Not just the confrontation, but everything that came before. Working so hard on something I was proud of, only to have it rejected and belittled. But I've moved forward, and I'm glad to hear you have too. Everyone makes mistakes. What matters is what we do afterward. It sounds like you're doing the hard work to grow and change. That takes real courage. I wish you well in your journey. Best, Patricia." Amanda cried when she read the response. Not because it absolved her, nothing could fully do that, but because it gave her something she didn't expect and didn't feel she deserved. Grace. She printed the email and kept it in her desk drawer. On hard days, when she wanted to slip back into old patterns, when she wanted to call her dad and ask him to fix things, when she wanted to skip therapy because it was too hard, she'd read it. A reminder of who she was and who she was working to become. If you're watching this and thinking about your own relationships, about your own mistakes, about your own journey toward becoming a better person, remember this. It's never too late to change. It's never too late to take responsibility. It's never too late to apologize and mean it. Amanda Whitmore spent 23 years learning the wrong lessons. But she didn't let that define her forever. She did the work. She faced the consequences. She became someone better. And if she can do it, maybe we all can. Because at the end of the day, Judge Judy was right about everything. Contracts matter. Signatures mean something. Your last name doesn't put you above the law. And the most powerful thing you can do is stand up, admit when you're wrong, and do better next time. That's what real power looks like. That's what real growth looks like. That's what being an actual adult looks like.